the constituency has been speaking on what really transpired. Okay, we certainly would bring you back that sound. I think there's a bit of a challenge with that, so we'll get that particular audio for you. That's happenings in the Yaabakuba constituency of in the northeast region, where over the weekend there was some violence in there in that constituency. Look, I have seen the videos. And we've actually uploaded the video on our Facebook pages and our social media platforms, so you can get there also, and you would see these videos. What when it's time for elections, we always depict that in many instances we become violent. No. If we say that Ghana is the gateway to Africa, the gateway to Africa must not be engaging in political violence. If we are the pace setters when it comes to democracy, then one of the things we must do is to ensure that we practice our democracy devoid of violence. This is the 8th election under the 4th Republic. Let me just give it a thought. The 8th election under the 4th Republic. And yet, we're still engaged in violence. Let's go to our Northeast regional correspondent, Ilyasu Tanko, who's joined us on the phone. He'll be telling us more about, what transpired over the weekend and what the parties are saying, what the police are also saying. Ilyasu, thank you very much for joining us. So, help us appreciate what happened over the weekend in the Yaabakuba constituency.
Well, just some 7 days to elections. The party has been very busy campaigning. So yesterday in the Kubore constituency,
Ilyasu, if you could kindly reposition yourself. There seem to be some breakages, so please reposition yourself, please, so we can hear you.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I think it's better now. Go ahead.
Yes, so the NDC went to a community called Tala, which is the hometown of the NPP parliamentary candidate. Today, the NDC.
Ilyasu, it's bad. I think we'd have to get back to Ilyasu Tanko. We're struggling, to hear Ilyasu Tanko. Would work the lines, get back to Ilyasu Tanko, and then he would help us understand what really happened, yesterday in the Yaabakuba constituency. He would help us understand why, that violence broke out in the constituency. But you can also join us. You can also tell us what your thoughts are here on the Super Morning Show on Joy 99.7 FM. You can can join us on Twitter using the hashtag JoySMS. I'd love to read your thought. I'd love to know what you're thinking about all the issues up for discussion this morning here on the Super Morning Show, particularly, our Joy Peace campaign, where we are focusing on ensuring that we have a violence-free election 2020, where how we are ensuring that, as we get ready for election 2020, we do away with any form of violence and ensure that there is peace in this election 2020. And yesterday we were told that in the Yaabakuba constituency there was violence. We're getting back to Ilyasu Tanko shortly so that he'll be helping us understand everything that has been happening in that constituency. We'll get back to Ilyasu shortly. But this is the Super Morning Show on Joy 99.7 FM. All right, so Ilyasu Tanko is back on the line. Let's get back to him now. Yes, Ilyasu. Yes, Ilyasu, you're making a point that yesterday the NDC went to campaign in the hometown of the NPP's parliamentary candidate. Yes, go ahead.
Into the NDC, some youth came to prevent them from going ahead with the rally, and a misunderstanding ensued. And according to the member of parliament, who is a member of the NDC, he said a group of youth suspected to be supporters of the NPP attacked him in that particular community, opened shots at him and his supporters, and so they managed to leave the community. They didn't campaign again, and when they got back to and pictures available to us indicate that there was a massive damage in that particular rampage by the youth. 2 pickup vehicles, as we understand, were totally vandalized. Power connection to the residence of the parliamentary candidate was also disconnected. And we understand that the radio station belonging to the New Patriotic Party in the constituency, it was also vandalized. And the party office was also vandalized. And so there was a massive damage in that particular rampage yesterday. And these youth that engaged in that particular action are suspected to be members of the NDC.
Now, have any arrests been made so far?
Not a few police in the area, even though it is a district of itself, but the police do not have district headquarters in that particular area. So the police in Wale are overseeing the Mampurugu Mwaduri of the Yaabakuba constituency. So when it happened yesterday, the police were deployed from Wale, and because of the bad nature of the road, it took several hours before the security forces got to that particular area. And this morning, as we understand, no arrests have been made. But there's a joint security forces in the community.
So help us understand something now. So the NDC goes to do a campaign in Tantala, and they were prevented from campaigning or holding that rally. And as a result, when the NDC went back to Yagaba, the youth within the NDC got angry and attacked the NPP parliamentary candidate's residence. That's what happened?
Exactly, but there's also a competing claims. The NPP is claiming that when they came to Tantala to campaign, nobody went to their route, and they started to attack members of the NPP in the community. The NPP also retaliated, and they got back to Yagaba and again visited mayhem on the residence of the parliamentary candidates. In fact, one person was butchered when the mob attacked the residence of the NPP parliamentary candidate. We understand the victim is a relative of the NPP parliamentary candidate. He was butchered and is currently being treated at the Kubore Health Clinic in the area here.
Now, is he the only person who sustained injuries? Did other people sustain injuries as a result of the violence?
Yes, we understand 3 more persons also suffered some injuries, but they were minor injuries, and so they were treated at home. But a severe one, a relative of the parliamentary candidate, he was butchered. He had blood all over his body. He was rushed to a hospital, and he's currently being treated there.
Now, have the 2 parliamentary candidates spoken, and what have they been saying? The NPP's Mustafa Ustaz and the NDC's Abdurrauf Tanku. What are they saying?
Well, this morning we heard again from the Member of Parliament, and then also we heard from Mustafa himself, and ostensibly both of them are trading blames. They are accusing each other of starting the violence. And so they are now, exchanging all their trading blames. The other is saying this person sparked the violence, and the other is also pointing fingers at. And so there's a trade of blames as we speak right now.
Now, finally, before we go, you know this constituency. What is it about the constituency that is, resulting in all this violence? Is it a constituency that could swing, or is one that is a safe seat of the NDC? I mean, it's currently being held by the NDC. I know that Mustafa won it in 2012. What are the dynamics in there?
Yes, exactly. Like you said, largely the NDC has been winning in this particular constituency. Mustafa pulled a surprise and then won once. The NDC came again. But this time, if you look at how the campaigns are going, that is why there's a lot of tension in there. It's a poor, it's a rural constituency. There are a lot of dynamics, but there's intense campaigning among the 2 political parties. And like I said earlier on, political violence is not something that is not common. It's very common, especially in the Yaabakuba constituency. And so with the intensification of campaigns, many people expect this kind of tension in that particular area. But the NDC largely has been winning this particular constituency.
Interesting. And so the vehicles that were destroyed, how many vehicles were destroyed in the residence of the NPP's parliamentary candidate, Mustafa? How many vehicles?
We understand 2 pickup vehicles and several other properties have been wrecked in the residence there. But we understand 2 vehicles specifically was completely burned, was completely damaged in that particular rampage.
So talking about, an area which is prone to electoral violence or election-related violence, I know that there's been lots of campaigns for peace and all of that. What happened to those campaigns? I mean, in the Yaabakuba constituency, for instance.
One of the challenges that this is a far-flung constituency. The road connection is very poor. Communication is also very poor in that particular area. Network is also very poor in that area. There are several communities in the constituency that do not have electricity and might not have access to all the peace campaigns that is currently happening. And so many people are not aware because people don't even get to watch television. They don't get to watch and listen to radio station. Like I said, the radio station, the first time that a radio station came to the area is only this year, and that particular radio station has also been vandalized in the rampage that was caused by unidentified mob in the area. And so it's a very difficult that people are not able to get information. Access to the constituency largely is very poor. So most people don't get to hear the information or the campaign about peace that is currently going on in the country.
Ilyasu Tanko, thank you very much for joining us. We certainly would come back to you for further information on this. We're grateful. Well, that's our Northeast regional correspondent, Ilyasu Tanko, joining us and telling us that. So, yesterday, that's when this violence happened. Now, the NDC says they went to Tantala, to go and campaign, and they were prevented from campaigning by the NPP. And so, according to Ilyasu, when they went to the Yaabakuba, and complained that this is what happened, and that when the NDC went to campaign in Tantala, they were prevented from doing so. The NDC youth got angry and attacked the residence of the parliamentary candidate of the NPP. So this is one side of the story. We are also told that the NPP then says no. When the NDC came to Tantala, they didn't prevent them from campaigning. They didn't have anybody. Nobody showed up at the rally. So it's a lie that they actually, were the ones who prevented them. Well, the parliamentary candidate of the NDC and member of parliament, Abdurrauf Tanko, is blaming the NPP for this, and the NPP is also blaming the NDC for this. And that is the situation. He talks about, the residents of the NPP's parliamentary candidates, being vandalized, 2 vehicles, that's pickups, being vandalized as a result, electricity to his house, taking off national grid, and also a radio station in the area has also been vandalized. And that is the situation there. That is the situation in Yaabakuba. And you see, the song says it all. If Ghana would be a better place, it depends on you and I. And listening to Ilyasu Tanko, this is an area where the road networks are bad, terrible. This is an area where he says it was only this year that he got a radio station to the area. And one would imagine, if you live in a community of this nature, the first thing you think about is development, infrastructural development to your community. The first thing you think about is not violence at all. And so these persons who are seeking to lead you, or these persons who are seeking to represent you, and that's the most important thing. Look, we sometimes behave like these persons are being voted for, so we serve them. They come to you and I and say, give me an opportunity to serve you. Give me an opportunity to go and represent you in parliament. And if they want to represent you in parliament, I'm sure you would have to be alive to see the kind of representation you get from them. One person butchered, in the words of Ilyasu, and I have seen the photograph with blood all over his head. In fact, when it was put on the page, people said, why didn't you even warn us of this image? Imagine. I'm sorry, I know some of you may be having your breakfast, but imagine somebody bleeding all over the face just because of violence. Somebody is going to parliament. He says he wants to go and represent you. And you are killing yourselves before he represents you. How do we do that? We are killing people. I mean, we're injuring people because somebody must go to parliament. And I tell you what, for all the young ones listening to us, anybody who tells you to go and fight, if you agree to fight, bear this in mind. The person doesn't respect you. If I respect you, I won't tell you go and fight. Go and fight physically for me to be, a member of parliament, for me to be president. If I respect you, I'll tell you go and vote. Go and vote for me to be a member of parliament, or go and vote for me to be president. That is respect. So I would urge you to go and vote. I won't say go and fight. In any case, when they are counting ballots, do they count fights? No. The surest way to winning an election is the number of votes you have. Let us think about it this way. Let us think about it this way and think about the well-being of this country. It's about people giving us options and we make a choice. And it's not about us fighting. Fighting or engaging in violence does not win elections.
Levaluki andamaha sanawala hakin sidibehaya. Let God arise and let the enemies of the peace and the destiny of this country be like chaff before the wind. There's no other way to obtain peace but to pray. And if we pray to Almighty God, He that hears and answers prayer, I guarantee you, peace shall prevail within our walls. We need to pray that any outcome of 2020 election and any event within our election that will compromise our peace and will create any state of civil unrest to bring about any confusion and violence in this land, by the name that is above every other name, let that event be arrested. Let that event be arrested.
And even as we pray, as we ask for God's blessings and protection for this country, let us not forget also that you and I have a role to play. God would deal with the spiritual elements, we must deal with the physical aspect. You and I have a role to play, and you and I must pledge to peace and ensure that we have a peaceful election 2020. This is a Super Morning Show on Joy 99.7 FM. I'm Winston Amwa. When we return after these messages from our partners, we bring you Hotline, and today the focus is on prophecies. Do they really matter in an election? Stay with us, we'll be right back.